Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another episode of Calling Out Booktubers, in which I investigate other booktubers and their interests, and then recommend indie books to them that I hope they'll read, because we just all need to be reading more indie. Now, I usually try to theme these episodes around one factor that all of the booktubers in question have, and this time I decided we're going to do Whatever-Thon hosts. I've done Whatever-Thon last year, and I'm doing it currently as I film this. It is a readathon taking place over the month of June, and it is meant to be very elastic and read whatever you want, with all the prompts being optional. But one of those optional prompts is read a host fave. So obviously, all of the hosts gave some of their faves, and I started looking into those. In one case, I had to look a little deeper because, as it turns out, I do not have many recommendations for YA fantasy or high fantasy, and I don't want to keep giving the same book recommendations. But I do have 3 Whatever-A-Thon hosts and 3 recommendations for them. I have actually recommended indie books to other hosts of the Whatever-A-Thon in previous episodes, so be sure to check those out as well. Now, let's jump right in. Up first is Pris from Pris Peruses, and from her host faves, I got kind of like, both a young protagonist uncovers they have mystical powers vibe, and also a love of very culture-based speculative fiction. So, going with that, I suggest The Gatekeeper Staff by Antoine Bondelet. This is a YA fantasy all about a teenage boy named TJ who discovers that his older sister has died, and his older sister worked as essentially a magician connected to one of the Orishas. The Orishas are a pantheon out of West African legend, and he discovers that he too is connected. Kind of. Everyone kind of thought he didn't have powers. So he ends up going to a summer camp, which is basically this remedial place where he's desperately trying to get into the eventual, big school. But for right now, he's kind of playing catch up because everyone else has had all these powers for forever, and he's just got here. And also, he is still grieving his sister, but he starts uncovering secrets behind her death. Whole big thing. Nice, gigantic cliffhanger ending moving forward. And it's just a really, really powerful story. His grief is really palpable. The mystery is really, dark and insidious at the end when you uncover things. Plenty of twists and turns and red herrings. I really, really enjoyed it. The author has done a lot with West African culture. It's kind of his bread and butter in his fiction, and I've reviewed a lot of his work now, and I really, really enjoy it. So I would definitely suggest this one. It's definitely a different pantheon than a lot of YA fantasy books focus on, and it's a really refreshing take on that whole everyone is connected to the god of a pantheon type of deal. I really enjoyed it. I thought the writing style was really fresh, and I think Pris might really enjoy it. Up next is Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction. This one seemed pertinent because I am actually using one of her faves as my prompt. I haven't read it yet, but I have heard that The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake is very queer. And also, among her faves, she has Circe by Madeline Miller, which is a Greek retelling. So I thought, queer book, Greek retelling. Can I interest you in a queer Greek retelling? i.e. Icarus by Adam Wing. Yes, it is a book about Icarus, and yes, the author's last name is Wing. That just amuses me. Regardless, this is a queer retelling of the story of Icarus. It's kind of hard to not spoil this one, but it is fully faithful, so you might want to be prepared for some sad feels. But there is a queer romance in this one, and I really, really liked this one, because it adds in a sudden creepy horror element to it. Was not expecting that, but more than anything, it gives Icarus a greater nuance, because before, Icarus was just this stupid kid that thought too highly of himself. He has not been looked upon well in mythology, and this book reimagines why else he might have kind of lost sight of his father's rules in that fated flight and the extenuating circumstances, and it was both heartwarming and heartbreaking, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I think anyone that loves both queer books and Greek retellings would really be interested in this one. Last but not least is Maddie from Book Browsing Blog. Obviously, I wanted to include the creator of the readathon in this, but as I was looking over their host faves, I just was not coming up with anything beyond the same indie books that I've always recommended. So I decided to delve a little bit deeper into their back catalog of BookTube videos, and I discovered an old fantasy reader tag, or at least oldish, where they talk about how if they were in a book, they would want the main trope to be rivals to lovers, and also that they loved The Extraordinaries by T.J. Klune. Now, The Extraordinaries by T.J. Klune is a superhero kind of comedy, or at least contemporary, with a queer romance. And so I started thinking to myself, what if superhero story with rivals to lovers romance? Not queer, but not everything can be. So I would suggest Red and Black by Nancy O'Toole Messervere. This is a new adult superhero type story about Dawn, a college student who has been obsessed with superheroes her entire life. So when she discovers that she has superpowers, she's all about this life, and she's like, yes, I'm going to become this city's new superhero. Just one problem. There's this evilish dude popping up, nefarious doing stuff, and she's got to stop him. Here's the thing. Dawn, clearly as an unnamed superhero, you can't just give yourself your name. Other people have to give it to you, right? And Faultline are unaware that they already know each other, because IRL, outside of superheroes, Dawn and Alex have already had a meet cute and are going on a date and are completely unaware that the adorable person that they're going to meet for coffee with is also the person they just did battle with last week, because both Faultline has a full suit that covers his face, and Dawn, when she's in superhero form, literally changes it, you turn it on and your appearance alters. So they have no idea who the other is, and Alex doesn't actually want to be the villain, but he's impoverished and got sisters to care for, so whatever makes money type of thing. But it's so good. And of course, you've got the whole secrets uncovered and conspiracies and who was Faultline's boss actually. And I loved all the intrigue. It is a series, and it is slow burn, so we're still very much in the rivals part of rivals to lovers in this book. I need to continue it. Every time I think to myself, what book should I read next? That one always pops back up, and I just need to sit down and get it done. But I would highly suggest this one for anyone that wants more superhero stories that's not in the Marvel DC Comics vein. And in general, I just love more new adult stuff. This one is set in college, and they have college problems, which also it makes for a better setting for a superhero, because they're not trying to constantly sneak away from parents. They're independent adults, but it still makes for all the goofy stuff because they're still figuring stuff out. And of course, just the tension of the reader knowing that this adorable couple is also fighting each other in these superhero battles. It's great. I love it, and I highly suggest it. And that is it. If any of these books interest you, please let me know down in the comments below. Also, please let me know if there are any other booktubers that you would want to see get called out for indie recs. If you are a booktuber that would like some indie recs, I always want to give them out. Just give me the genres and the tropes you're looking for. I'll see what I can find. I'm not good for all kinds of genres, but I'll try. Regardless, with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.